Welcome, everybody, to the PodAskew Podcast. I am CJ, and with me, as always, is my hetero life mate, Rico. What's going on, man?
Oh, my God. Not a whole lot. Just crazy shit at work, but even crazier shit with life, and our listeners are about to find out why.
Well, and not to mention, our lives are usually pretty crazy anyway, so, I mean, shit.
That's true.
To your point, we have a very special guest on the podcast today, and we've had a lot of guests this year, but this one tops them all, I think. And in the well, hey, come on, let's be real. In the 25th anniversary of Clerks, our show has been very Clerk-centric this year so far. We've done 2 Clerks episodes, one of them being a Clerks commentary episode that I'm curious to get reaction on, and as a result of that, you reached out to one Marilyn Ghigliotti, and she's decided to join us. So welcome, Marilyn.
Thank you very much.
We're definitely honored to have you here. I don't know if you've listened to the show at all. I know I sent you a link, but I don't know if you got an opportunity or not. But
I did not. It's like, to be honest, it's like my life lately has been just like, a little overwhelming, so much kind of going on, and so much needing to be done that I just have not had a chance to.
No worries at all. We just wanted you to at least have a chance if you had the opportunity, so you knew what you were getting yourself into. But no, we're definitely glad to have you on. We just to give you a quick little bit of background on our show, we came to be as a result of just the inspiration, and I'm sure you've heard Kevin, because I'm sure you're still in touch with him on a semi-regular basis, of his mantra of if you want to do it, just go do it. And especially since he took on the podcasting thing over the last 11 years now or so, he says that all the time, just like, do it. And I just said, all right, I'll do it. And here we are. So
no, definitely. I mean, it's, you got to try it to see if it'll work for you. If you don't try, if there's something that you want to do in your life, you have to give it a try. Yeah. You got to see. Otherwise, it's like you spend your life wishing you had.
No, absolutely. Go ahead, Rico. You were going to say something.
One of my favorite quotes of Kevin was, or it's not even a quote, but he said something which was, he was talking to his sister, and he said, "I want to be a writer. I want to be a filmmaker." And then she said, "Go be a filmmaker." And then that was what I for you, you could probably relate to this, Marilyn, because you are an actress, and I spent a lot of time wanting to be an actor. And I kept saying, "I want to be an actor." And then I heard that quote, and I said, well, fuck, I need to stop saying I want to be an actor, and I just need to say I'm an actor and then become an actor.
Right.
And I'm really good at saying I'm an actor, but I haven't acted in shit. So it went from I want to be an actor to I want to be a voice actor. And then I sort of, like CJ was talking about, we sort of stumbled on this Facebook World of Kevin Smith thing, which is how we found you, if I'm correct.
Huh.
And then all of a sudden we are now podcasters. And so now I'm just saying, well, I'm a retail clerk at a video store, and I'm also a podcaster.
Yeah.
So essentially I am a combination of Dante and Randall.
Yeah, he's been saying that basically since we started. I think you introduced yourself that way on our first episode.
That's right.
So, Marilyn, we are very much aware that your whole life does not involve just Clerks. We're aware that you continue to work in the industry, and we certainly do want to talk to you about that, but we can't do this on this show and not ask you some of the Clerks questions, if that's okay.
Oh, of course. Obviously, yes.
Okay, good. I mean, and obviously you've embraced it with your Twitter handle, and I know you're selling those pictures right now, or I saw the tweet about that. Now, is that just yours? Is that going for something, or is that
the black and white photos you're talking about?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I was doing some purging and cleaning and things like that, and I just happened to come across them. I'm like, oh, you know what? It's like people post a lot of different things, and it's like, let me just post these up on my social media and see how they're received. And they were really well received, and it's like, basically it's also just finding things to post about.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happened, and they were just so well received that I figured it was like, and so people were asking whether I was selling them, and so I decided it's like, all right, let me see what I can do, and so I got 8x10s of 3 of them, like the ones that were most liked, and so yeah, now I'm selling those.
I think the translation is she has rent to pay.
Oh, stop.
Yes.
Sure, she's doing
rent
better.
And some other bills and a car payment. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So we have a list of questions. We're not beholden to them. We just put them here. And so we had them. So don't feel like elaborate as much as you want is basically what I'm getting at. Some of them are fun and some of them are a little more serious.
Okay.
I think my first thought would be I'd want to know what it was like when Kevin comes into your, because you were in an acting troupe, correct, or a theater group, I should say, in that area, up in the Leonardo area, correct?
Correct. In the southern New Jersey, central southern New Jersey area, I was doing community theater. Okay,
because, and I'm completely joking with you here, Marilyn, but I am from southern New Jersey, and you know the rivalry between North and South in this state, I'm sure. So, South is South.
Well, and yes, and that's why I said like Central South.
Yeah. I know. I'm just having some fun with you about it. But what was it like when he comes in, this unknown 22, 23 at the time filmmaker saying, I'm going to make this movie in a convenience store? Like, are you guys taking him seriously, or are you just like, whatever, but I'll audition anyway? Or what was the thought
for
like?
me, I had found out about the auditions.
Okay.
So I think you might be getting confused with Lisa's experience to my experience.
Oh,
because
okay.
Lisa was actually in a workshop or something like that, and he sat in on it and then approached her afterwards. But for me, I was in the middle of a rehearsal for a show, and through the grapevine, one of the theaters that I had worked at, the word got around that, and this is the way that it was put, a kid is holding auditions for a film.
Okay.
And so I went to the auditions. There were quite a few people there, but not everybody was actually auditioning. A lot of them were there just to watch.
Right.
And we had to do a monologue, and yeah, I don't, it's like things are, I remember bits and pieces of that whole situation at this point, 25 years later.
Yeah.
Do you remember what the monologue was?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that, yeah.
That I do remember, yeah. It was from a monologue book. And Night Luster is the name of it. And it for me, it basically was something how I have felt for a good portion of my life. Because it's a person talking about how she doesn't ever feel seen. And I'm a middle child. So enough said on that. And also, taking on the going for and trying to be an actor and all that kind of stuff, and it's like you're just kind of wishing and hoping that somebody sees me or hears me, and so that's pretty much the monologue, which is on the 10th anniversary DVD.
Oh, is it? I have that. I don't think I've seen that for some reason.
Yeah, both my audition, Brian's audition, as well as Jeff's audition is on there. Huh. And needless to say, though, it's like I've done that monologue much better than I did that day.
Well, you're much more seasoned. You've been doing this much. You've got much more experience now.
Grown as an actress.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Rico. I I know it says on your Wikipedia, and I've actually even heard Kevin say this in interviews, that one of the reasons he did select you, though, was because you could cry on cue.
I mean, I don't know about on cue, but, and, I mean, for the monologue, yeah, I got emotional, but I felt, for me, it was a little bit forced. So the fact that they didn't see that, I was like, okay, good. But yeah, I mean, there are moments where it flows.
Right.
And I funny because one of Kevin's podcasts where he's actually with Jeff, and they were talking about the time where Walter was all freaked out about it afterwards when they went to the diner, I guess, after the auditions and stuff like that, and how he was all freaked out about that afterwards. I found that funny.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've heard that episode. That was I think it was that morning show he was doing for a while. I think Jeff came on that, or maybe an episode of Smodcast, if I recall. But I remember the interview or the discussion you're talking about. I've heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so what was it like? Like you said, they told you this kid is shooting this movie. So what was your first thought when you heard that? Like, this kid is making this movie.
I didn't care who was making a movie. I just felt like it was a chance to do something more than what I had been doing already. Versus on the stage and see. All right, I'd like to take this a step further, see what happens, and see if I can. And so, yeah, that was pretty much it.
You were hungry, basically.
I don't know that I would say I was hungry. I just, I just wanted to see what I could do.
Just see what your how far your limits went, I guess, or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your reaction at first reading the script? Like, were you did you find it funny, or were you more or less? Okay.
Yeah. He had called me after the auditions, not like that night or anything. I don't remember exactly when it was, but he asked me to go to the convenience store, and I went there, and he gave me like a quick little rundown. He wanted me to read the script, make sure I was comfortable with certain things.
Yeah.
And so I took it with me, and I was reading it while I was at work, in between clients, and I was laughing, and I didn't find any offense to any of it. It's not like I was taking my clothes off or anything like that. So
right.
It's like,
were you doing hair and makeup at the time as well?
I worked in a salon at the time.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it. So you're at the salon, you're helping, you're doing perms and whatnot. And between perms, you're laughing your ass off reading the script.
Well, I will say I don't recall it being a very busy day. So
I got it. Well, if I can ask, because obviously Kevin has, as we all do, we change over the years. Kevin has changed dramatically before marijuana and then after marijuana. What was he like when he was like 20 compared to how he is now? If you can.
That's a hard question for me to really answer. It's because it's not like I knew him in the sense of seeing him on an everyday basis or anything like that. It's, we worked together, and then we went to Sundance, all of us, and kind of a thing. So to me, it's not really any different.
Right. Well, and you were saying you worked together. So how many days were you on set? Like, were you there for the entire filming, or did they just do your sequences and then you were done? How did that work?
I was only there for could have been 3 days, maybe 4, like
okay.
3
Really?
nights, 2 or 3 nights, and then once during the day, and I can't remember whether they were consecutively or not or anything like that.
Sure.
But it's not like, oh, let's get hers out of the way or anything like that. It's like they had a schedule, and that they went by the schedule, and they gave me my my dates, and I was there for those dates.
Okay. I mean, because look, and I mean no disparity to Lisa in any way when I say this, but you are the heroine of this movie, as far as I'm concerned. Like,
thank you.
No, seriously, I feel like in some instances when I've heard people talk about the movie, I feel like your character is very underrated, and I feel like without Veronica, the whole story kind of falls apart, and I mean that in a positive way, but. I think without
so much.
Oh, no problem. But I genuinely believe that.
Thank you, guys. No, that I'll admit, there are times where I do feel like I'm a little bit underrated, as to how I fit into the story, and not by the people that I've worked with in the film, but more by maybe some of the fans, but more by, say, promoters of conventions and things like that.
Right. I could see that, and it's not right. It's not good, but I could see why that would be, and it's, I do. I think your character is the glue to the story, really, because.
Yeah, I would agree. If you're definitely the heart of the story, because Dante, I mean, going to the whole point is Dante really fucked up when he, made that awful decision. Yeah. Veronica was bringing him lasagna and everything, and he still tried to cheat on her. I mean, when we rewatched the movie, I was like, God, Dante's awful. He really is just such a fuck up here. Yeah. I don't understand. You go with the loyal Italian chick. What's wrong with you, dude?
So, and that kind of leads to some of the sillier stuff that we had to ask you about, because we just things that intrigue us about it. So it doesn't, have any bearing, but we were, like I said, we did a commentary episode just last week. We watched the movie and had it on mute with the subtitles on and talked through the whole thing. And we both said to ourselves, what color was the nail polish?
It was clear.
I told you it was a clear coat. I called that.
Yeah, we went with clear because, we didn't want to have any issues of, mess. And I already had a French manicure going on. And so basically it's we just had the clear nail polish to kind of work with. And so that it wasn't too much of an issue to work around and be careful of.
And how was Brian? Was he good at it?
Yeah, was he halfway decent?
Yes, he was.
Did you have to give him some pointers, or he just knew naturally?
No, he yeah. I mean, again, because it was clear, it wasn't such an issue anyway. So, sure. And he went in there, he was cleaning with the edges with the nail and all with his nail kind of a thing. So yeah, it was all good.
Good for Brian. Good for you, Brian, for knowing how to do that.
I wonder. You almost wonder if he practiced, but anyway, that's another conversation.
Hey, he may have. I don't know.
I don't know. We have this list of questions, but I feel like some of them are just so ridiculous, and I'm really just enjoying hearing your perspective on these.
I'm intrigued now.
Well, the biggest one.
Number one is.
Well, yeah, let me hold on, because we put out a thing to our friends, both on social media and behind the scenes, and the biggest thing people want to ask us about, that they wanted us to ask you about, was why 37? Do you know why that was the number that was chosen versus any other number it could have been?
Well, I mean, I think that's definitely a Kevin question, but
well, sure.
Well,
if I'm remembering correctly, because I mean, Kevin's pretty much been asked just about everything and covered just about every aspect of things, but there is a vague memory of something to the effect that in films, 37 is actually mentioned a lot in a lot of films because of the ease of the number or something like that. I don't remember it correctly, and I know I'm not giving it any justice. But there was something just to that effect.
Okay, because honestly, like you said, Kevin has talked a lot of different pieces of this movie and other aspects of his career and life to death. And I mean that as lovingly as I can say it, because we love listening to it. But that's the one thing that in all the Kevin circles that we run in, no one seems to know the answer to. It seems like he doesn't mention why 37. And the closest I found was that he said it was arbitrary, but I don't buy that. I'm sorry, I just don't.
If I could cut in for 1 second,
yeah,
37 sounds like a lot of penises. Like, that is a lot of chicks. Like, because your character's about 22. That is a lot of promiscuity. Like, I mean, as a film goer and as a man, as a feminist, I'm like, holy shit. Like, all the power to you for doing that for the character, but like at the same time, it's like that seems a bit excessive. Like,
I agree. I mean, probably, but then again, it's like in comparison to a woman who sleeps around a lot. I don't know. I don't even know what that number would probably be yet.
And to your point you're just making, I think that's the kind of redeeming thing about the 37 is because the thing that gets passed over in that whole, sequence is you've only slept with 3 people.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if there's justification there, but the point being is your character is not someone who's just sleeping with anybody. That's kind of the point that's supposed to be made, and it gets lost in the 37 in a row. But that is kind of the point that's supposed to be made.
She has values.
Right, exactly.
I don't even think I've kissed 37 people. I don't think I can name you 37 people that I like.
Well, and do you mean a casual kiss, a peck on the cheek or whatever, or do you mean kiss?
I mean kiss. Like, I don't even...
yeah. I mean, me neither.
Right.
See, that's my point, is that, like, yes, 37 sounds easy on the ears because it is... I mean, that was my argument. I was like, 37 just sounds good. Uh-huh. It's a relaxing number, even though it's almost 40 things.
Uh-huh.
like in comparison, I'm 27 years old.
Uh-huh.
It's 27 for me just seems excessive amount of vaginas or penises or people that know.
I love you, brother. I do.
If you took 37 people in a room,
that's a lot of people.
That's a big room.
I mean, but to some degree, to going in line with the story itself, and to look at it in the way where it's like, all right, when they're starting to try to think about numbers, it's like, oh, okay, she's only slept with 3 people, it's like, because it's, she cared about them and whatever. But when you're okay, it's like, we need to make something that's totally opposite, that's going to be shocking.
Yeah.
And where, it's like 10, it's like, all right, yeah, that's a lot, but it's not a shocking number in retrospect.
True.
So, and I think maybe maybe 27 could have actually done it versus a 37, but I think it does give it that shock factor that it probably needed for the script.
Right, and then the other side of that, if you went to something like, say, 100, it would have just seemed so unrealistic that it couldn't have been true. So, I get that. Now, go ahead, Rico, because I have a follow-up, but go ahead.
There's no real answer to my little diatribe. It was more of just like, what the fuck, Kevin?
But
but goddamn.
Maybe that's a question for one of his Q&As at some point. If any of you guys kind of do attend one, maybe that's a good question.
Oh, it's one we totally plan to ask. But the problem is, if we're third in line, we're not going to get to ask the question, because if you've seen Kev's Q&As and it doesn't get
third in line, you actually might. Fifth, maybe not.
Yeah.
I did go to a Hollywood Babylon, and I went to an earlier Kevin Smith Q&A, and I was the second person to ask a question, and I completely wasted it.
Yeah, you did.
Like, I just basically, look, Kevin is just a man. You are just a woman. But, like, is this slight stigma, like, we've seen you on movies. Oh my God, you're a celebrity. Like, and especially with Kevin, who is sort of like the podfather, like he's like there is that I all of a sudden I became a 12-year-old kid. Like my knees were shaking and my already deep voice was cracking like it was going through puberty. And then I fucking just went through this whole fucking story about how I'm a clerk at a video store. And then I said, I'm the only person who bought a copy of Yoga Hosers. So not only did I insult the man, but then I said, my question is, will you sign it? And then he said, sure, no problem. And then that was it. And then I just said, and then he started saying something like, oh yeah, it's amazing how you went through this whole journey. It took years, and I'm just not getting the hint that he's saying, sit the fuck down, shut up, kid. and I said, that's right. It took like 15 years to meet you. And he said, and now we're done. And I said, that's right. He said, and now you can sit down. I'm like, okay, I will. No, please sit down. I'm like, okay, sure, no problem. Fuck. So now I'm just kicking myself forever that I was like, I think he'll at least remember that exchange despite all the pot he smokes, which is, oh, you're the kid who insulted my movie and then asked me to sign it, and you also work at a video store. But now I'm thinking I should have just fucking asked him why 37, because that would have been a better question, but not as good of a story.
Yeah. And it is what it is. But going back to the original question about the number, Marilyn, and I understand why you say it's probably more of a Kevin question, but we figured if anyone beside him knew, it was probably you. That's why we asked. But the next question I would have is, so obviously that's kind of been tied to you as well. Like, obviously Kevin uses it. He's got it over his jerseys and, all kinds of other things. But it's also been tied to you. And I would say for slightly more ominous reasons. I don't think it's that heavy, but I don't have a better word. So how does has that been a negative thing? Has it been because I'm sure you get people yelling some inappropriate things at you because of it.
Yeah. I mean, let's just say that for the most part, it's all in fun, and I can go with that fun, and I can make fun of it as well. But yeah, sometimes some people just don't realize when they've crossed the line and when to draw the line.
Okay, well, hopefully we haven't yet. So
no.
Okay.
But just wanted, yeah.
And I will say though, it's like I have some awesome and amazing friends because when there are some fans that do kind of cross the line, others, will kind of say something that I don't even have to. Right.
Are you still tight with Brian and Jeff and Lisa until, and unfortunately she passed away, but...
So I'm very close with Brian, Scott, and with Ernie.
Okay.
Jeff, he does live out here in California. The last time I did see Jeff was for Lisa's passing, and it was nice to kind of all get together and catch up. And it was a hard time for all of us.
Of course.
Still is sometimes, thinking about it.
I mean, obviously you knew her and were friendly with her, but that's one of the, like you were talking about people, sometimes yelled out some inappropriate things and whatever, but what I do like about, and I hope you agree, that Kevin's fan base is when things like that happen, we kind of band together, I think there was an outpouring of support for all of you guys, including Lisa's family, when that happened. I think at least that's what I saw.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and it's not like Lisa and I or all of us are constantly on the phone with each other or anything like that. And Lisa and I kept in touch, via social media. So it's just the nature of the beast of, especially, being on opposite coasts and things like that. Busy life and, her going through her health issues and me going through life, that can be quite tumultuous at times. And, so, it's, we live our lives, but that doesn't say that, I mean, I know for me, it's, I consider everybody my family there.
Right. Well, I mean, and especially because it's the first project, right? Like the one that kind of got you all to where you are now. I mean, I know you, at least from what I can tell, it seems like you and Brian are the most, short of Kevin, of course, but I mean, you and Brian from the acting side of it are the most active from the cast still to this day.
Yeah, as far as you mean acting, still doing acting, you mean?
The acting, working in the industry as a whole, because you just don't hear about, like, I think Jeff doesn't really do anything anymore. I know they couldn't get him for 3, which was a shame. But, like, I don't see Jeff on a whole lot of things, at least when I've looked him up on IMDb. Lisa didn't do a whole lot either, if I saw, but maybe I read it wrong.
No, Lisa, once she moved back to Jersey, I think she pretty much kind of called it quits with the acting. And Jeff just doesn't seem to have the interest there at all either.
Right.
So yeah, it's, Brian and myself, we're still doing the pursuing, and also Scott, who played the Julie's Gum guy.
Okay.
Your adversary.
When you said Scott, I thought you meant Moser for a minute. I got my Scots confused. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm so proud of him of what he's actually been doing now as well.
Have you seen The Grinch?
Yeah.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah. He's one of the directors for The Grinch.
Oh, well, no, you're getting my Scots confused again. I thought you were talking about the Chulies guy again. Okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Yes, I knew Moser was involved with The Grinch and directed that, and that's very, very awesome. You've been doing a lot, because I've when you agreed to come on the show, I did a little bit of research, and you've done a lot with makeup as well as in front of the screen. Which do you prefer?
Oh, in front of the camera, definitely.
Okay. Well, I mean, just because you've done so much here, I didn't, because there's quite a few projects here.
Living out in California, very expensive out here. Yeah. And when one thing doesn't pay enough of the bills, it's like you wind up doing 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of jobs, and just, being able to survive doing whatever it is that you can, to help pay those bills and supplement in many different forms.
Right, well, and I see that you've thrown your hat into the directing ring. How did that come about, and how was the experience?
Well, I've been wanting to direct for quite a while, and I have optioned a feature from someone as well, and I knew that, who's going to give me $1 million to direct something that I've never directed before? So I knew I kind of had to do something in the short film. And about a year ago, I had this idea for a short film quite a long time ago. A year ago, I did a short film in St. George, Utah with a friend or a few friends. And once I got back, I just basically decided I need to do this idea that I've had for a short film. And the only reason that I hadn't done it is because, well, I just didn't have the money. And as affordable as you can shoot anything nowadays, it still takes money. Yeah. And I did not want to beg for money doing the crowdfunding. And finally I decided or realized it's like, you're going to have to beg for money, Marilyn. So once I got back, and it was basically almost exactly a year ago, I started putting everything together. I got an editor, a DP of mine that I've worked with in front of his camera, with some other people that I know, and got together an editor friend and just started putting all the pieces together and figuring out what I had to do. And I was 2 weeks into doing that when some other filmmakers that I know came to me. It's like, hey, Marilyn, love to have a meeting with you about some short films that we're doing. And so I met with them, and they had a collective group of 7 people, of filmmakers. Some of them had already put together some short films, and so they were putting together about 7 short films. They wanted me to act in 2, but they also wanted me to come on as a producer. And I said to them, well, I actually have just started putting together my own little project, and they said, "Well, send it on over to us, and then we'll add it to the collective." And so it kind of started from there. And then we did a crowdfunding last year, which was all right. Didn't get too much, not anywhere near what we needed, but we got enough via the crowdfunding as well as off of the crowdfunding to be able to shoot 3 of those short films out of 8 that we have. Mm-hmm. So we did that first weekend of December. I directed one, not the one that I wrote, but someone else's. Mm-hmm. And so now we're looking to do a GoFundMe, and so that we can get money to edit those 3 now. And then to shoot the other 5 as well as edit those. So it's a process. It's a long process, and it's a bit tedious I hate that it's taking so long. But to do it right, I know it needs to have a little bit of time, but it's the money. It's the money situation that's kind of making it a little bit take too long.
I'm trying to think of how to phrase this, because I'm not worried about insulting it, but I want to make sure I get the point across correctly.
Yeah.
Was there any temptation to reach out to Kev? I mean, obviously someone I'm not saying he's the richest director in the planet, but he's certainly not struggling either. So was there any temptation to go down that route and talk to him or even Moshe or someone of that nature for funding for these projects?
To be honest, it's I did not personally reach out to them specifically. I was just kind of hoping. It's I can't imagine that they're going to miss the posts that I make, and hopefully, hey, Marilyn's doing this. It's let me throw her a few bucks.
Right. But obviously different than just going to Kevin and being like, hey, I've got this idea, but I need the funding for it. It's obviously different that way.
Again, it's like the whole asking for money. That was the thing. It's it was even hard for me to send out a mass email to my family and friends, immediate family and friends, and to do that. And to be honest, it's with all the people that I sent it to, it was only barely a handful that even did.
Really?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you got it done though, and to the point that you were making earlier, you just got to go do it, and you did. So that's awesome.
But I still have my small little script that I need to direct and get done. Unfortunately, so as far as the group of my film group friends, in the next few weeks, we're going to be doing kind of like an EPK for what we have done, and so that hopefully we can get some of the footage up onto our GoFundMe so that people can see. It's right, we didn't make shit, we actually have some quality stuff here. It doesn't look bad, so it's please help us.
No, it's awesome that you're chasing that dream, and I don't mean that you haven't gotten there already. Obviously, you've been working since Clerks, actually, I see one credit pre-Clerks, but I don't know if you count it, but it's for something called Invasion of the Flesh and Blood, or Invasion for Flesh and Blood.
Yeah, I don't really count it.
Yeah, I didn't. Based on your character, I didn't think so, but I just thought I'd ask. So
yeah.
Does the character suck 38 dicks?
No, no, it's much darker. Anyway, so that's awesome, and obviously it's because you've got the most diverse credit list I've seen from a lot of people. Because most people take the one thing, the acting, the directing, and just producing or whatever, and just hang in that one field. You've tried everything, and I don't mean that in a way that like you were saying, you just got to pay bills. I think you're willing to try all these different things to see what you like the most. So
yeah, exactly. And the thing was too, it's about being on set. just enjoying being on set. And so whatever way that I was able to be on set, be it in front of the camera or behind the scenes, that's what I wanted to do. And as a filmmaker, as an actor, it's like if you do want to kind of pursue to become a filmmaker, then it's always a good thing to kind of learn every aspect of it as much as you can.
No, absolutely. We have a friend. His name's Matty Granger. I don't know if you ever heard him, but he's worked on quite a few different films over the years. Always behind the scenes. He's got some in front of the camera work, but the biggest stuff he's worked on's all been behind the camera. And he says the same thing. Like he just loves being on set. That family connection you build, but he said it's very odd too because you build this family for, however long you're filming and then it's just gone like that. Yeah. And he said it's a very weird thing. And have you experienced the same kind of thing when that happens?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because you get used to seeing all those people and you get very close and then all of a sudden it's like, and it's such a snap the finger kind of moment that all of a sudden you don't see these people and you're on to the next project. And so as close as you were, some of you may still kind of keep in touch, but not in the same way.
And that kind of goes back to what we asked you about if how much you were in touch with Brian and Jeff and all them, because from our perspective as fans, we just assume you guys all hang out and whatnot. And obviously that doesn't, isn't the case. So
right. And the thing is too, it's like, Brian and I, we actually have history before Clerks. So we actually did have a friendship because we worked community theater together. Okay. And before I even started into the community theater circuit, I went and I saw him in a dinner theater show where he was playing Renfield in Dracula. And so to then eventually find myself on the stage with him actually was really a nice moment, and to kind of see the transition as well for him and what he's done. And so, we have that history, and the fact that we were able to, solidify that in a way that kind of immortalized us now is kind of nice. And I think what also has kept that friendship going is the fact that we do the conventions together, and we always have a great time when we're at the conventions together.
Well, and the other thing that I think, because Enrico and I have talked about this kind of off air, but we have mentioned it. It always seemed very natural, the relationship between Veronica and Dante, and you giving us that information that you guys have known each other long before making Clerks.
Yeah.
Explains that, because it feels like obviously you had already known each other, so it probably did. Am I right? Did that make that role easier?
It seemed like you guys were totally relaxed with each other.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so here's the funny part, though. So the shows that we've done together, he's tried to kill me. He has played my brother. And then we played boyfriend and girlfriend. So,
In that order? Or?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
In a row?
In a row. Oh, God. So.
I mean, I'm grateful it's 3 separate projects and not one thing, because that would make it.
Yeah. That would have been weird, yeah.
Is this a Manson family? Like, what is this?
So what? Go no, please.
The one where he tried to kill me. It's a movie that's called Wait Until Dark. I don't know if.
Wait! I know this. This is the Audrey Hepburn.
Yes. Yeah. So I played the Hepburn part, and he played the guy who's trying to find the doll, and yeah.
He played Alan Arkin. Or Rich Crenna.
Yeah, I can't remember but he played the main guy out of the group. Yeah.
Because my girlfriend is gonna laugh her ass off because she showed me that movie like 4 months ago. I never heard of it or seen it, and at the video store, that's now one of my recommendations. Whenever someone's like, I really want a really good suspenseful film. And I'm like, you need to see this fucking movie because Alan Arkin is terrifying, and he doesn't sound like Alan Arkin. He sounds cool, daddy, like Beatnik, and he's terrifying. So the fact that you play the Audrey Hepburn role is amazing. So Brian because there are multiple antagonists in that film, but there's the real evil one.
Yeah.
So that's who Brian played?
I believe so. I do believe so.
That is, I really want. God, I wish there was there was footage of this because I would love.
Yeah, I don't recall whether there is or isn't because sometimes the shows were taped. Like one night would be taken, but I don't recall if this was taped at all. And then the other show that we put on together where he played my brother is a good friend of ours, actually, who has since passed away as well. But he was a South African that owned a dessert theater, and it was a semi-autobiographical play that he wrote about apartheid. And so I go back home after living in America to find my brother has fallen in love with one of the slaves.
So a comedy, basically.
Yeah. It's like so. Talk about where Kevin and Walter were freaked out about my crying. It's like, this got to be a pretty heavy piece at the end, and there was even some slapping going on with me and Daddy.
Interesting.
Jesus Christ.
Speaking of slapping,
it's funny because when I'm on a set and people question when they have to slap the other person, and I'm like, you just go for it, dude. It's like, cup your hand and go for it. Do not hold back. It won't. You do it right, it won't hurt.
Well, and to that point, you kicked the shit out of him in Clerks, and he deserved it. So,
I was kicking the bottom of that big fat boot he had on, so it was okay.
He still deserved it. That's all. That's all I'm saying. But so what? I had a question. I just lost it. Damn it. We wanted to know. Did Kevin ever approach you for things like Clerks 2, the animated series, and when 3 was in talks before the plug got pulled? Were you in talks to be in any of these things? Because you and Lisa never show up again, really, in the View Askew world. Now, you said Lisa kind of stepped out of the limelight anyway to do the family thing, but you obviously are still working, so how come you weren't in any of these things?
Okay, so here's a bit of history and story. So I was asked to be in Chasing Amy, and I still lived in Jersey back at the time. At this time, and it was basically to play opposite Joey Lauren Adams' character as her girlfriend. Although, actually, let me take it back just even a little bit more.
Please.
Okay. So once Kevin did Clerks and he was given the money to do another film, it was basically Mallrats.
Right.
And Kevin did have myself, Brian, Jeff, and I believe Lisa as well, gave us the opportunity to audition for Mallrats. And I don't remember what role he told me to read for the audition, but I was going in for my first, I would say, real audition. In totally different league than, going to the theatrical community theater auditions and things like that. So when I got into the room and I was asked by the casting director, and I don't even remember who it was at this time, I tell her the role, and I just remember her looking at me with this perplexed look on her face, then looking over at Kevin and Scott sitting on the couch, and then looking over at me, and I'm thinking to myself, uh-oh, What's going on? What I do? Am I so not supposed to? So green, still pretty green, Marilyn, who's very insecure, not really knowing what's kind of going on and what it is that's happening. And so I'm pretty sure I bombed that audition. And then now fast forward where Kevin asked me if I wanted to do that role in Chasing Amy. And it still really wasn't all that much further along. But, I again, still, it's like it was something that I didn't feel very comfortable with. And I actually met Joey, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 years ago in Miami for a convention that Brian, myself, and Jason Mewes were at. And this was the first time that I was meeting Joey. And I knew I was going to say, it's like, oh, we almost got to work together. And her response was like, oh, well, what happened? And I had no idea, no clue what I was going to be saying to her. But what came out of my mouth was the fact that it's like, I was afraid of challenges at that time, which was very, very true. And so later on, and one night, her husband, Brian, and myself, we all went to dinner and we were talking about that. And I had mentioned that at some point, a manager of mine had talked to, I believe it was around the time that Clerks 2 was being made, as a matter of fact, that my manager had talked to somebody on Kevin's camp, and he was told that because I had turned down that role, I would never be asked again. But what Joey said was that probably did not come from Kevin. That probably came from Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, well. Knowing what we know now about Harvey, that's not very surprising.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I do have a quick follow-up to that, though. I suppose Kevin was in, especially, and I'm talking about Mallrats specifically, I'm guessing that at that point, he was still in a very tough position because while he made the splash he made with Clerks, he wasn't, he's not Spielberg or Scorsese and being able to like make his own calls all the time. Were you bothered by the fact that you had to actually audition? I mean, Clerks is an audition in and of itself, essentially. I mean,
no, not at all. I mean, just because I was in a film, a black and white film that all of a sudden did so well, I mean, I knew that I still had to prove myself to the industry, basically. So, and I realized that, okay, yeah, this may be Kevin's film, but he was not the one that was funding the money this time.
Right.
He had people that he had to, there's a word I can't think of.
You had to answer to?
Yes, to answer to, yeah.
Yeah.
So I realized that this was not, just going to be handed to me. But then again, if it was just a smaller part, that would have been nice too. Yeah,
right. Even if you were just, hell, even if you were in the first row of the game show, like the crowd or whatever, just so we could see you.
Right.
Was there a character in the other Smith films that you would have wanted to play?
Well, I think in Dogma, I easily could have played the friend role that the comedian...
the Garofalo role?
Yes. The Janine Garofalo role, yes. I mean,
I could see you in that. That would have been really good. It'd been a nice little throwback and homage. And I mean, I almost could see you. I mean, Alanis Morissette as God is pretty funny, but I could also see you as God just to be like a real throwback.
And then as far as I mean, easily in Clerks 2 could have been a cameo of just kind of walking into the movies and then all of a sudden seeing that, just from the convenience store to the food store. That's like,
Yeah.
As long as you weren't Kinky Kelly, because I think that would have been kind of strange for all of us. But, but no, you're right, because I mean, like Ben walks in, Jason Lee walks in, like several people different walk in and order food and walk out. So you easily could have been one of those characters. Yeah.
Should we tell her about our hashtag for Ben?
Oh, see, yeah, we're not doing very well with this, but we have started a hashtag because, and I actually came up with this because I've heard Kevin talking about Ben on different podcasts about how much, and it seems to me he misses the friendship. It's not even about doing a movie together. It just seems like they were pretty close at one point, and then that's, separated for whatever reasons. Rico has his theories about Jennifer Garner that we're not going to get into tonight, but that aside, since they did get divorced, we started a hashtag in case he's right that Kevin Ben reboot. We want them to become friends again, and whether they work together or not. So we've been trying to push this hashtag very poorly, I will add, but we've been trying.
Well, now I think we should do another hashtag to put Ghigliotti back in Clerks movies, like make more Kevin movies. If
you can't
on that subject, I actually it's like I would have been in Clerks 3. To what capacity I don't know. Brian, the only thing that Brian was able to say to me is like it was a really nice piece, but I never got to read it, and unfortunately Brian can't even tell me even to this day what and how it was involved.
What did he sign, like an NDA or something?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Really?
Which is kind of odd for Kevin because he discloses everything, but I get it. And if you can't answer this question, I totally understand. And even if you want us to delete the question from the episode, I can. But are you going to be making an appearance in the reboot or?
Well, I don't know. It's, I've not been contracted to. So.
Okay. Well, that's a shame because you should. I mean, for your character to be as strong as it was in that movie, going back to Clerks, and then to not show up again at any point in the View Askew universe, especially since Kevin's gotten control. Like, I get it with Mallrats. Like, you had a valid point. Like, it's the second movie. He's got people he's got to answer to and all that kind of stuff. But at this point, he's calling his shots. So
I don't know. I honestly, I wouldn't say that. I really wouldn't say that because I think it was a long road for him to be able to get the funding just to even do this. I mean, because it was a long road to finally get the funding to do Clerks 3, and then things kind of fell apart there at the 11th hour. So, he might have a little bit more say than when he was, say, doing Chasing Amy, Mallrats, Dogma, and all that kind of stuff. But he still has people that he needs to answer to in the respect of, what they're putting up. And even though it's not just one place that he's getting that money, because Legion M is also part of this as well. But still, it's not 100% what Kevin says.
No, that's true. Right, but at least he's not answering to someone like Harvey anymore, which is good.
Yeah.
We know of. I mean, that's the other thing is everything that keeps coming out. Everyone's, someone you least expected is now like a complete fucking asshole.
Well, my point was that it's not someone that with that kind of power. He seems like it's not the Miramax monster that, and I use that word as a double entendre, really, but
that's pretty good. The Miramax monster, I like that.
So
your dimensions.
Yeah. The thing I get to ask next then is, so they're shooting Clerks, I guess mockumentary, but not really, right?
Well, it's a biopic. It's definitely a biopic.
Okay. And I saw you were involved in that. And what was it like going back to the well in that regard? I mean, I'm sure you get asked about Clerks all the time, but this is probably a different monster than that.
This is meta.
Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely, it's a total different take and direction on the whole thing. Because basically Christopher Downey, who's the writer and the one who started this whole thing, just started touching base with many of us that were in Clerks, and he had done like these little vignettes on Jay and Silent Bob characters, called Ulriki. I don't know. It's something UK related. And he just decided to kind of start looking at all the information that was out there on Kevin and realize it's like, hey, nobody's actually done the story on how this all came about. So let me do this, but not in the sense of a documentary, but in the sense of telling his story as a film, and just having someone play Kevin who had played. He took the characters that were playing Jay and Silent Bob and to put them in the characters of Kevin and Jason, right. And just kind of reached out to everybody and to get, ask us questions about how it was like and what we remember, and just pretty much took all the information and made it into a script. At one point, he wanted myself and Scott Schiaffo to go out to the UK and play Kevin's parents. Mm-hmm. But due to my being in the union, that just wasn't possible. And also the fact that they just didn't have the funds to be able to do that. It was just to even fly us, whether I was in the union or not, just to fly us out there was going to be pretty much the bit that they did have. Yeah. But eventually it was a long process, and he was able to do some things over at his place. And then what he wanted to do and found that he needed to do was to then get a second unit to shoot a lot of the footage in the States. Mm-hmm. And I just happened to be going to Jersey for, I don't remember what it was that I was going out there for, but worked it out where used my ex-sister-in-law's kitchen that was not remodeled or anything like that. It still had kind of a 90s vibe to it. And so then I played Allie from The Village Voice, and they shot a lot of the different scenes. This is when pretty much James came onto the picture, who's also a producer now.
Okay.
Did you mentor the actress who played you, essentially?
No. From what I understand, she just looked at many interviews that were out there of me, and that's how she based me off of. But I've not seen Shooting Clerks yet. I'm afraid to see Shooting Clerks.
Are you? Why?
Why is that?
Because I've just not been available because they've only screened it on the East Coast a couple times at a film festival in Florida, where James lives, and then they had kind of a screening in Jersey. Mm-hmm. But I live in LA now, so I don't have the money to fly back east whenever.
We were more curious why you're afraid to see it.
Yeah.
Well, the simple fact of the matter is that it's kind of crazy to see somebody portraying you and you're not dead.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I was going to ask you, because I had assumed wrongfully that you had seen it, so I was going to ask you what that was like, but obviously you haven't seen it yet, so.
No. And then for anybody who's ever seen the 10th anniversary DVD, there's a discussion on there that I was never aware of until I was actually interviewed for the 10th anniversary DVD as well, where the question was sprung on me of certain issues that Jeff and I had when we were on set that I honestly can't remember.
Okay.
For the life of me, I can't remember. And that, to a degree also upsets me in the sense that's like, whatever, what it is that they said that I did, and that I can't remember it. It upsets me that I even did that, if that's what and who knows, maybe we're all kind of remembering it a little bit differently and seeing it from a different perspective, that they see it one way and I didn't see it that way. And so that's why I can't remember. I don't know. I have no idea.
don't even know what you're talking.
Yeah.
Do you know what she's talking about?
No, I'm gonna have to go back and watch it. I'm not gonna ask you to tell us unless you want to, Marilyn. But we'll go watch it.
Actually, it's easier if you actually watch it. It's because sometimes me explaining things is doesn't do justice.
Sure.
But
sure.
But this is it's talked about in there, and Christopher Downey did say that's like, we will make sure not to harp too much on this, but I feel like it's something that does need to be said, and I'm like, I realize that. And at one point when I did find out about all this, I did reach out to Jeff, and I believe I wrote an email, not a letter because I didn't have his address or anything like that, but I don't know whether he ever received it, but it was an apology letter, email, I should say. And, but we have never had a moment that was appropriate, I feel, for me to even ask him about this since that time.
Right.
So there's no closure.
Huh? Yeah, no closure. No closure.
Well, it seems like Jeff's a very private person. Like, for someone who's been in movies, and I'm not saying he resents it, I'm not taking it that far, but he seems to, I've done my thing, I'm kind of done with it, let's just move on, with life. Right.
Well, I mean, to some degree, because I'm sure everybody knows the story about what happened after Clerks 2, where eventually they wound up having to sue the Weinsteins, or Miramax, I should say, because they were supposed to get money on the back end, which there never is money on the back end and stuff like that. But he just feels that they were basically screwed over on 2. And so I think he feels that, things just always kind of had a negative connotation. And so I think that's, part of the situation.
Yeah, well, I mean, the industry you are in, and he's in to a lesser degree, I guess, is not. It's not for the faint of heart, for one. Yeah. That's for sure. I mean, I'm not even in it, and I can tell that just from, getting to talk to you, getting to talk to our friend Matt, and then just listening to different interviews and podcasts and whatnot. And it's
a tough, rough road.
Yeah,
it really is.
You have to have the passion for it, which you clearly do.
Absolutely.
You have to also have the thick skin for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to some degree, but definitely you have to have the passion. And many times there's so many people. It's like, oh yeah, I want to become an actor because I want to be rich and famous. And it's like, unfortunately, that's only going to get you so far before you realize that's not going to be that easy. And it's not necessarily what happens. It's a lot of taking money before it's actually giving money.
Yeah. Right. So I don't even know where to go from there. Honestly.
Yeah, this got real heavy, real serious.
No, but it's good to talk about, and Marilyn, thank you for being so open with us about it. You know what I mean? So we appreciate that. There was a question that I missed from the clerk stuff, so I guess I'll just go back to that, and because there's no easy segue from what we were just talking about. But do you know the origin of your character's name? Like, why Veronica versus any other name, or is it just what it is?
I don't know.
Okay.
I always suspected it was a Archie comics reference.
Yeah, I might have known this at one point, but honestly, I don't know.
No, that's fine. We just little things we thought you might know that we knew we weren't gonna find, doing a Google search. So we figured we'd ask, What I guess what is what's a favorite memory from making the movie? What's your favorite? Do you have something that stands out for you all these years later, even that like you focus on?
I mean, for me, the whole thing was just something that is memorable to me, to what I can remember anyway. But because it's like, again, it's like I only remember bits and pieces of it at this point, but the whole experience for me is just something that I will always treasure. I mean, it was the first time, and for the first film and the first experience of this, and to have gotten the cult status from it, that in itself as well has, this memorable moment to it. Working with Brian and just experiencing that whole thing, and working in a convenience store where that was our craft service table, basically. And certain moments, because it's like, here we are shooting in the middle of the night when the convenience store is not in operation, and you got the town drunk who comes in. He's trying to buy cigarettes, because the whole cigarette thing is actually not far fetched,
right?
So just all of it, really.
So basically, you got free Gatorade. That's what it boils down to.
For us, it was Yoo-hoo at the time.
Yoo-hoo? Okay. No, I was just making a bad reference to the joke from the movie.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, the Gatorades from the hockey scene.
Yeah, a buddy of mine was a guest of ours on our, I forget what number the episode is, but where we talked about Clerks for the first time, really, ironically, which wasn't that long ago, and he and I are around the same age. We're both 39, and the fact that the Gatorades were in bottles, not plastic, like glass bottles, we dined in on that for like 20 minutes. We had I'm younger than CJ, so I was like, they were in glass bottles? What the fuck are you talking about? He's never seen a glass Gatorade bottle, so it was just kind of fun to...
I was 2 when Clerks came out, so...
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, even the Yoo-hoo bottles were in glass. Like, everything was in glass, basically.
Yeah.
I think Yoo-hoo still is in glass now.
I think so. Yeah, I think so, yeah. If you talk to Brian, you can tell him, when this is really tongue-in-cheek, but why he didn't shake the Yoo-hoo bottle he drank out of in the movie, I still don't get to this day, because you can see the chocolate sediment sitting on the bottom of that thing. I don't know why he didn't.
Yeah, I'm not even a big fan. That was sacrilegious. Like, you shake that shit up, Brian. What's wrong with you? I have a question. Was there real lasagna in the lasagna case?
There was nothing in there.
That's what I'm guessing, because I was like... I was like, I don't know if they would actually go out and make lasagna, but I would imagine there would have been like, maybe you would have been method. Like, no, my character makes lasagna for her man, and I'm going to flip it over.
Dude, there was no time. It's like, we were working during the day and filming at night, so there wasn't much sleep going on or anything like that. If I had the time, I probably would have. But there was nothing in that lasagna pan at all. It would have been nice to have actually had something in there just for substance and weight. So I had to kind of fudge that to make it look as if there was anything in there.
Well, you did a good job.
I know you can understand this, because as an actor, you really you're in your own mind. Your character is like, I know. The audience may not know, but I know there's no lasagna in this fucking pan, and it messes with me. Like I was in like plays when I was a kid, and I remember the teacher / director, he had written like I opened up a letter, and inside there was an actual handwritten letter, and I remember asking him, because I was 9 years old. I said, why did you write the letter? Because there's, only I will see it, the audience. And he said, that way you'll always, I know it's there, you know it's there, your character knows it's there. And that stuck with me. So I would imagine it would have been slightly frustrating, even if it was your first project and you're sort of green and new to the film industry. You've been like, well, why can't I could just go defrost some frozen, lasagna and make it special, or at least put a rock in here, so at least something.
Right. The other thing, though, at the time is it's not like I was in charge of props at that time. It wasn't given to me to worry about. The only thing I had to worry about was bring my clothes and learn my lines.
That was your own wardrobe?
Yeah.
So you wear a leather jacket. That was yours?
No, I didn't have a leather jacket.
I could have sworn you had a leather jacket.
She had a jacket, but I don't think it was leather.
Yeah. It was just a blazer.
everything's black and white. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a leather jacket. It was a blazer type. You know how blazers were big back then in the adamant days. You know, with the shoulder pads. Yeah,
he wouldn't, but I do. Yeah. Is there anything you would go back and do over? I don't mean like a regret, but if you could have done something different with the way you handled the character or whatever, is there something you would have done differently?
Well, the thing is, it's like the scenes that I wasn't happy with were cut out anyway.
Oh, good.
So I'm good.
Can you tell us what they were, or do you remember?
I can't remember.
Okay, that's fair.
But I think the 10th anniversary DVD also has scenes that were cut from it.
You are really plugging this. I really need to go out and buy it.
Well, no, but it's like the 10th anniversary. I mean, Christopher Downey, he did a lot of his research off of the 10th anniversary DVD.
Well, there's a because what I have, Marilyn, is I actually don't. Not that I was lying earlier, but I don't have the 10th anniversary, but I have the Blu-ray, which they took the package from the 10th anniversary and put it into the Blu-ray, essentially. From at least that's what it says on the box that I have. So I'm assuming that's what's there.
Honestly, I can't say that I'm aware of that because I mean, in the 10th anniversary DVD, there's like 3 or 4 DVDs. I can't remember.
Yeah, there's several discs. Yeah. The point though is that the big thing on there. Yeah, a lot of it's Kevin talking. The big thing on there is the documentary that I think is called Snowball. I think, which I know is another tie back to you. Like that's why I keep saying, like, for multiple reasons, you are the star of this movie because, like, so many of the things that have carried on long after the movie are centered around your character. You know, the number, the snowball thing, because I hear about that kind of crap all the time. Maybe it's the circles I travel in, but who knows? So.
Yeah, I mean, but I think it's because of what those references are and stuff like that. So
there's an overtness to it. Like it weighs heavy, and even just the number 37 has now been synonymous with that. Now every Kevin Smith fan, you say the number 37. I mean, people are taking photos of fucking receipts where the number is 37, and they're posting it online. And now that's when it's like the joke gets real thin for me. I'm like, it's like you get it, okay? Well, you like the number 37, but it's only funny because of 1 or 2 lines of dialogue. It's now stretched particularly thin for me.
And to your credit, Rico, you took the joke because my building only goes up 37 floors, so I did take a picture of that and send it to him. So he appreciated that. The support you've given us in the short time we've been communicating with you on social media, we very much appreciate. So thank you for that. By the way.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
The tweets and retweets and whatnot. So. We
really do appreciate it. It's been very helpful. We are slowly and surely trying to make this a real thing, and your support has been really helpful.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I don't think I have anything left. Marilyn, you've been amazing though. Rico, do you have any questions for anything? But
yeah.
So let's wrap this up. Marilyn, thank you so much for joining us. We're humbled by your presence. I think I speak for Rico when I say that too. It really means a lot to us that you took some time and shared your experiences about both your career, pre, during, and post Clerks. So thank you so much.
PC and AD.
Yeah.
It's totally my pleasure. Thank you so much, guys. I had a good time. I appreciate everything that you had to say. I really, it's like, I thank you so much.
Oh, thank you as well. So to our fans out there, thank you for taking the time to listen to it. If you have not already, make sure you follow Marilyn at That Clerks Girl on Twitter. Very interesting feed, and you'll enjoy it. She puts up a lot of cool information. So, all right, everybody, thank you again for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Hiya, everyone. Stephanie here with a few thank yous and FYIs on how you can get in touch with and follow PodAskew. Oh yeah, and the guys. Let's start with a huge shout out thanks to Dubbed in English for the opening theme music, 96 Reasons. If you're trying to find them online, they've dropped off the face of the earth. Just kidding. But no, really, their music is offline now, so send an email request to podaskew@gmail.com or CJ's Twitter handle at @im_blade, and he'll throw you a copy of the full song and or the whole EP, Plan 9. Also, let's give a big thanks to Samuel Lemons for our closing music theme, Askew. I encourage you to discover more of Samuel's masterfully manipulated rhythms on SoundCloud at www.soundcloud.com/Samuel-Lemons. I don't know how you're listening to this now, but you can find other PodAskew episodes in several places, starting with iTunes and Stitcher, where a quick high-star rating from you goes a long way in helping us hit the top of the charts. Or you may prefer Google Play Music. Don't want to be strapped down by an app? Then find us on podcast search engine, Listen Notes. Type in PODASKEW, yes, that's all one word, into any of the aforementioned searches, and PodAskew will pop right up on whatever screen you're using. And of course, there's our founding site that started it all, Podcast Garden, at www.podcastgarden.com/podcast/PodAskew. By the by, if you're looking to host your own show, Podcast Garden is the ideal place for all your podcast hosting needs at a very affordable price. Now, if you want to agree with or yell at the guys directly, follow them and the show on Twitter. For the show, at PodAskew. For Rico, at RantsRico. And again, CJ is at im_blade. Finally, let's not forget our biggest thank you is to you for listening, subscribing, rating on iTunes and Stitcher, and promoting our show by being our fans. CJ and Rico truly appreciate your time and look forward to bringing you another episode soon.
Who's leading this mob?
That guy.
Freeze!